Companions, today's story is based on real events, and one of our friends heard this tale with her own ears while traveling on this route. Her name is Angelina. Actually, Angelina's maternal home is in West Bengal, and she often travels there. But when she was still quite young, just old enough to understand things, she first heard about that haunted railway station. At first, she thought it was just a joke, but when the local people confirmed the stories and she searched about it on the internet, even she found it hard to believe. Many things about that railway station are said to be true. For nearly 40 years, the station remained closed. In the 21st century, it was reopened, but not completely. Staff are present there only during the daytime. As soon as evening falls, strange disturbances begin, and the entire station is deserted. So now, let me introduce you to that terrifying railway station. We will hear this story from Angelina's point of view, exactly as she told us. My name is Angelina. This happened when I was quite young. My grandmother lives in West Bengal, and we used to visit her at least once every year. I may have been little, but I was curious enough to want to know everything, and that's exactly what happened that time. Our train was delayed by several hours. We were supposed to reach the last station by evening, but we still hadn't arrived. It was getting dark. I was bored from sitting in the train and was moving around and playing near my parents when suddenly a man shouted loudly, "Hey, Begunkudau railway station is coming up. Quickly close all the windows and doors." I was surprised because usually when a station arrives, people open windows and doors, but here they were being told to close them. I asked my mother curiously, but she told me to stay quiet. A mother is a mother, and children are always a little afraid of being scolded, so I immediately kept quiet. I noticed that the entire compartment had gone silent. The train even seemed to be moving faster than before. I wanted to ask my mother again, but because of fear of being scolded, I stayed silent. After about 5 or 10 minutes, everything returned to normal. People began talking again as if nothing had happened. I asked my mother why everyone had gone silent and why the windows had been closed, but she didn't tell me anything. I was stubborn, so I asked again. An uncle sitting on the seat opposite us said, "Child, on this railway station route, we have to pass quietly because it doesn't like it." I asked in surprise, "Who doesn't like it, uncle?" Before he could answer, my mother interrupted. "Why do you want to scare my daughter with such things?" The uncle replied, "Children will find out sooner or later. It's better to tell them clearly so they can understand what's right and wrong." I said, "Yes, Mom, let him tell me." Then the uncle told us something that I will now narrate to you as a flashback from the past. In 1960, when Begunkudau railway station was built in West Bengal, it brought great convenience to the nearby residents. At that time, transportation options were very limited, so this station was extremely beneficial for the people. Every day, many passengers came and went, and the station remained lively. Everything was going well, but one day something happened that no one could have imagined. It was nighttime, and there weren't many people at the station. A train arrived and stopped. A few passengers got off, including a woman. She was wearing a white sari. Perhaps she was a widow. It's hard to say. She looked about 30 to 35 years old. She was carrying a small cloth bundle, probably containing her belongings. She looked weak, as if she hadn't eaten properly for a long time. After getting off the train, instead of using the main exit, she began walking along the railway tracks because it was a shorter path. As she walked, she suddenly stumbled and fell onto the tracks. That area was dark. In those days, there wasn't much lighting, and hardly anyone was around. Perhaps she fainted, which is why she couldn't get up. Meanwhile, another train passed through that station. The woman was still lying unconscious on the tracks. She couldn't hear the sound of the approaching train. Within moments, the train ran over her, and her body was torn into pieces. The next morning, when railway employees arrived, they were shocked to see her body on the tracks. The station master was informed, the police came, and an investigation was conducted. Her cloth bundle was checked, but it contained only clothes. No identification was found. Despite many efforts, her identity could not be established, and no one came looking for her. Eventually, the case was closed. People treated it as an ordinary accident. Many suicides occur at railway stations, so most assumed that she must have come there with that intention. But the real story was only about to begin.
The real horror began 2 or 3 days after that accident. One night, the station master was sitting in his cabin finishing some work. There was extra work that day, so he hadn't gone home yet. Suddenly, he heard the voice of a girl calling from outside the cabin. He immediately stepped out, but there were very few people on the platform, and all of them were men. The station master called out loudly, "Who called me?" Everyone looked at one another. Someone replied, "Sir, none of us called you." He assumed it must have been his imagination and returned to his cabin. After some time, a train arrived, passengers left, and the station became completely deserted. In those days, night travel was rare anyway. Now he was alone at the entire station. A few minutes later, he heard the same voice again. This time he was startled. He slightly opened the door and peered outside, and his senses froze. On the railway tracks, a woman dressed in a white sari was slowly walking. Her hair was loose, her face was unclear, and there were red stains spattered across her sari. She did not look like an ordinary woman. Suddenly, she stopped and stared directly toward the cabin. The station master's hands and feet turned cold. He quickly shut the door from inside. A few moments later, knock, knock, knock. There was a knock on the door. He sat inside trembling. He did not open it. Again, there was a knock. Then silence. After some time, he heard the sound of footsteps slowly fading away. After waiting for half an hour, he ran straight to his quarters. When he reached home, he was in terrible condition, soaked in sweat, breathing heavily. He told his wife everything, that a woman in a white sari was on the tracks, and that she had knocked on the door. At first, his wife suggested it might have been someone in need of help, but seeing the fear on his face, she became frightened too. The next day, he decided he would return home before evening. But fate had something else planned. That day, an important train carrying railway goods was delayed by 2 or 3 hours. He had no choice but to wait. Night began to fall. The station slowly emptied again. Out of fear, he asked a tea vendor to stay so he wouldn't be alone. The two were talking when suddenly the tea vendor pointed toward the tracks and said, "Sir, what is that white thing?" The station master's face went pale. It was her, the woman in the white sari. Both of them rushed inside the cabin and locked the door. Then, a knock on the door. They were terrified. When they peeked through the keyhole, they saw the woman walking along the tracks. After some time, they decided to go to the station master's quarters. But when they reached his house, the door did not open. After repeated knocking, his wife opened the door, crying, and said, "I don't want to live here anymore. Strange shadows roam around this place." She then told them that just a short while ago, she too had seen the woman in the white sari walking toward her along the tracks, slowly coming closer. Her hair scattered across her face. Terrified, she ran inside and locked all the doors and windows. And then, knock, knock, knock. There had been a knock on the door of their quarters as well. Hearing this, the station master and the tea vendor felt as if all strength had left their bodies. Now it was no longer just imagination. That woman was appearing in both places. And the story does not end here. In fact, these were the very incidents after which Beguncador railway station was shut down. It is said that for nearly 40 years, the station remained deserted. People not only avoided going there after sunset, but even closed their windows while passing through that route. Even today, the station remains open during the daytime, but as soon as the sun sets, silence takes over. People say, even now, sometimes a woman in a white sari can be seen walking along the railway tracks.